Hello viewers, Super GT here. Now you joined me for what was eventually one of my finer performances in FIA, but of course with all these FIA races it's very much a learning process. It's a journey. You're going on a very emotional roller coaster where you start off normally quite bad, and by the third or second race you do it a bit better. Now this is the first qualifying session I did. Now you can see they're 13th on the grid, but barely only a few tenths away from getting well inside the top 10. If I'd been maybe 2 tenths quicker, I would have been 7th, 8th on the grid. Just shows you how close it is. This is only second split. I'm in the second split here. For the first round of this season, I was in the top split. I'm in the second one for the second race. Now, going for Lexus, starting 13th in this first race. It is Dragon Trail Gardens, a reverse, and this is a really unusual circuit, especially this corner here, this 4 apex left-hander. Really difficult to get this one right, and I couldn't quite grasp it in this first race. As I said, these races, these FIA races, are very much about learning, and often I don't always have the time to do practice races beforehand, before doing the race in itself. So the first race that I do is the learning process. That's the race where I practice, and then in the second version I know what to do and I can come back a bit stronger. Now for the first hairpin, now you see someone just spinning off there. There's a penalty just up ahead. Now with the qualifying that close, you saw how close it was. It was half a second from myself to pole position, and most of the people just ahead were just a few tenths ahead. So it's really, really close in the middle of this pack, and therefore he's always going to get quite feisty. As we come through the chicane, really awkward chicane, but it's not too bad this direction. I think it's when you go the other way around the track, it's actually quite hard. So we're going at one position on this first lap. Up behind the McLaren now through the final corner. The long winding right-hander onto the main straight. And you're coming down into the first corner. Very good overtaking opportunity. They've got another penalty there. That was Nisman involved with the incident at the hairpin. So gained 2 positions. Now that's always good, of course. But I think the main thing in these races is the qualifying. If I could have just started well inside the top 10, things would have been a lot easier. Now lap 5, same position. I'm in 11th still. And this is where things begin to really change in this race. Well, they just barged into the back of Mg there. A little bit too hard in his Jaguar. Has a bit of a knock-on effect with Supra, but we're all still in the same position, so luckily no penalties being dished out there. Look up the inside. Are we going to go for it? Not quite. As the Jaguar goes up the inside of the Supra. Now the Supra's actually, I say the Supra, he's called Supra, but he's in the Lexus. But he was actually the pole sitter, so I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. The fact that he's now down in 10th. But he's in the Lexus as well. I suppose it's always good to compare yourself to other Lexus drivers so you can see exactly what this car can do. And we're going to get smacked into the rear end, and we're going to go into the smacking into the rear end of Supra. And unfortunately that's him spun out. I get a 2-second penalty for that, which is really frustrating. So this race looked like, you know, I maybe could have salvaged the top 10, got inside the top 10. Didn't quite happen because of that penalty. Some people up ahead just coming out of the pit lane after after going for their first pit stops. Well, their only pit stops is a one-stop race. Super just getting battered all over the place here, and he's dropping down big time. Now that incident there was where this race really went downhill. And as I just said, it's just the qualifying that is so important. It's been my weakness for so long on this game, not being able to qualify that well. At the end of lap 6, we go into the pit lane, get a new fresh set of tyres, come back out. We're in 15th now. Or 16th now. We started 13th, and we moved up to 11th, but now we've dropped another 5 places from there. And in a lobby of this quality, you can't afford to get a 2-second penalty and drop 2 seconds because you're just off of the group. And once you're off of the group, you just got really no chance of trying to catch back up because these guys are pretty quick. So I make a mistake there. We lose a position down to 17th. Now, of course, it's disappointing to lose this many positions, but again, you just got to learn and make sure that you know what you're doing for the next race. This is where things really kick off. 3 abreast up ahead, and it's like a pinball machine up there. And I'm not sure which side to go, and unfortunately I go into the back of Supra. Quintin up ahead gets a 4-second penalty, and I lose crucial momentum. I could have maybe gone at least up into 14th and be right behind Quintin. Now he puts his hazards on, he quits, teleports out of this realm into the rage quit realm. I don't blame him, to be honest. But coming through at the end of the race, I managed to secure a 13th, which I suppose after all that happened there, I finished where I started, so it's not an absolute disaster, I suppose. But there's a lot to learn from that one, and we're going to have to improve our qualifying, because if I could have just been 2/10 quicker, I would have definitely been in a much better position on the grid. As the Jaguar of Majid finished 7th, and I was right behind him when it all kicked off, so I could have perhaps finished 8th at least. Now that was the contact, so you see I just got tapped in the rear end, unfortunately, and get the 2-second penalty. Very disappointing. And this is another view of that incident, where it all really did kick off big time. That guy gets smacked into the wall, and actually quite interestingly, this guy, now well, just watch this basically, he's on the right hand side of the 3, in fact he's behind it, and he doesn't really play a massive part in it, but then he does, gets smacked into the wall, and gets slapped with a 10-second penalty, just for good measure. Nice. Really, really good late Christmas present for him. Okay, so we go again. Back in the lobby. I'm listed 6th on that lobby there, of course. So qualifying, this is the important bit. Now, I found myself in a group. I had to find a group, so obviously for the first lap, burning a bit of fuel, getting a fresh set of tyres. With only 5 minutes to do qualifying, you only really have time to do one flying lap. Now, the crucial thing here is slipstream. It's not really much of a slipstreaming circuit, but I felt like having someone right in front of me is always good. I feel like sometimes I can go a lot quicker when I just have a reference right in front of me. And I found Supra. He was the pole sitter in the previous race. He's in the same car, and therefore I think this is a good barometer to have him right in front of me. So I tagged along with him, and he's in turn with 2 people ahead of him. So we've got the slipstream, and we've got a Lexus, the same car, and we have a quick guy because he was the pole sitter. So now we'll go for our qualifying lap and just try to nail this. In the previous one I did a 1:31.2, so anything better than that is good. If we can try and dip into the 30s, that would be very, very good, but we'll see. Through the first corner, double apex right-hander, trying to get the power on. Now down this straight here, preparing for this really long left-hander, and it's a really difficult technical corner. I still don't know really how to take it. You have to really attack this first bit, but be brave, and then just really slow it down for this latter half of the corner. Almost go too wide, and in fact I definitely lose a bit of time. You can see that I'm not as close to the Lexus ahead than I was at the start of the lap. It's not much, but it's definitely a bit bigger than it was. Now I tried to recover that at this hairpin. I think I have a really good hairpin here, coming through the sweeping bends and braking and trail braking in and really clipping that apex nicely. You see I definitely catch up through that corner. So all the time I lost, I think I pretty much gained it all back on that hairpin. Up the back straight here towards the triple chicane. Difficult corner to get right. Lots of people, look up ahead, they're clattering the sausage, riding the sausage. Their sort of wheels going flying up in the air. I decided to go against that. You see the Atenza up ahead actually falling victim of that corner. As it's a big risk really, taking that sausage. Riding the sausage is always risky. And just look at this guy, this was hilarious. He's on a good lap and he just completely bins it into the pit lane off the curve and goes flying into the pits. Box this lap. He got the team call very late and he decided to box it. But we eventually crossed the line, and we're a lot higher up in the order than I would have predicted really, as we finished 6th, obviously really, but that was a good lap. It was just over 1 minute 31, 1 minute 31.0. I'm really pleased with that. But before we go to the race, it's time to bring you the updated FIA intro.
Oh, he rammed Org off. Wait for him, wait for him, wait for him. You've got to wait for him, you just rammed him off. Fuck you piece of shit game. Oh my god. Couldn't even go in the pits because what are they doing? What the f*** are you going? This game is shocking, I tell ya. Fucking so annoying, I can't even be arsed. Literally cannot be arsed. Here. Fucking pile of shit.
Okay, so there's a key with a brand new FIA intro. Hopefully that fate doesn't behold me in this race. Now we're going to kick it off from 6th place on the grid. I'm pleased with that result in qualifying. I'm really pleased with that. And we're going to hopefully have a good race. I feel as though in that first race, I finished 13th where I started. If I could do that here, that would be a good result. but typically towards the front of the pack you lose a lot less time from fighting. So the further towards the front you are, the less sort of aggression and fighting there is. When you're in the middle you get a lot more, and therefore it really does pay off. Really does pay off to get a good qualifying lap, and thankfully we've done that here. Now first things first, start of the race, the main thing really is just to not do anything really stupid. Stick with the group ahead, stay in that slipstream, don't get lost, don't get dropped, don't get lost either, that does help. It's quite easy actually, just stay within the white lines and you shouldn't get lost. And you see in the background of that shot there, the guys behind already fighting. It's a 1.1 second gap behind me at this point, which is good, as they're just dropping off towards the edge of the slipstream range. So ideally we can get away as a group of 6 here and try to pull away from those guys behind. So you're just trying to reduce the amount of people who could possibly beat you in the race. And the further and further away you get from the people behind, you're just reducing the chance of them beating you later. Okay, so we're going to just try and work together, pull away from the group, and just be sensible about it at this point here. So no overtakes actually in the top 6. You see that everyone's just settling in, just trying to get the race underway, do nothing silly. As soon as you start fighting, you lose a lot of time. And you can see already the McLaren behind 1.3 seconds. You see how big that gap was. I'm only 2 tenths behind this Mercedes, and just doing an okay job so far. Now, luckily the Lexus is actually alright on tyre wear. I felt like some cars here, especially like the McLaren, the Jaguar, really do suffer from tyre wear, and the Lexus is actually not too bad, so quite happy about that. Some tracks of course are going to be suited to your car, some aren't. So lap 2, still in the pack, really just happy to be here, to be honest. Second split, of course not with the absolute top guys, but some of these guys here are really quick. Nestor Garcia on pole position and leading the race, really quick sim racing driver, and just to be in the same company as these kind of guys is always good. If you want to improve at a game, the best thing to do is just surround yourself with people who are better than you at the game. You will improve. You'll have a knock-on effect to you just by being surrounded by these kind of people. Now lap number 4, so you can see the gaps just beginning to open up, the top 2 just pulling away slightly, battle for third still going strong. I'm still in this group, the gap behind 2 seconds, so we managed to break the toe of the guys behind. Now quite interestingly, the Mercedes goes into the pit lane, so the Portuguese driver going in for the stop, so it's a one-stop race, you don't need to stop twice. It is a very short pit lane here, but it's only really a one-stop race. So he goes in quite early, at the end of lap 4, which means he's going to have to do a 9-lap stint on the second half of this race. Now I was going to go for the move here. Now I felt like, because the Mercedes went in, I didn't want to fight too much here. And I settled in behind and just tried to minimise the time loss. We'll see if that's a good or a bad decision later. But typically I always go for the cautious, minimising time loss sort of route, rather than the fighting, aggressive, and gain all the positions route, as weird as that might sound. But typically it kind of pays off in terms of having a calm race a bit later on. So lap 6 now. This is the view from Aguilar, who was the Mercedes who were just behind. He was in 5th, so he's gone for his pit stop. And the downside of doing it early is that you come out in traffic, and you can see that here. So he's stuck behind some people here who are a bit further back on the older tyres. So he's going to definitely lose a bit of time here. We're on lap 6, so I'm going to come in for my pit stop here as we come through the final corner. So this is a really important part of the race. Am I going to be able to get ahead of Aguilar when I come out of this pit stop? So we can dive into the right hand side, go for the mediums, no need to refuel in this race, as Aguilar definitely losing a bit of time there behind these slower drivers who are just going into the pit lane now. So I'm just coming out of the pit lane. As I exit, Aguilar's just coming down the left hand side. I'm just going to slot in next to him. It was pretty much as close as it could possibly be, and you can see that I just slot into 5th place. It was so marginal. It was honestly so close. One little mistake, and we would have definitely been behind him. So perhaps sometimes that not fighting mentality was actually the right thing to do, because I've gained a position when, if I had got past the Honda, we could have been fighting a lot, and then we would have both lost out essentially. But at this point here, We're up in position, up into 5th, started 6th. If I can hold that through to the end, that is a very solid result, but we're still in the slipstream range of the guys ahead. There's no reason why we can't gain in another position as we come through the hairpin. The Lexus really planted through there, really pleased with how it handles. Now this track is quite tricky for this car through the middle sector. It's from here onwards that I felt quite strong, as we tuck into the slipstream of the Honda. Through this chicane I felt really strong. Normally this chicane is horrible for me. I just worked out a good line for this car and it really did work quite well. So I've gone from about 8 tenths behind. You can see here just 3 tenths behind now. So really making this car work through that last sector. And the Honda, the main downside really is the straight line speed. So down this main straight we're going to have a chance perhaps of going for a move. He moves over, definitely aware that I'm sort of getting a bit closer. Not anywhere near close enough to go for a move though. Now this is always a tricky situation in a race. When you have someone right in front of you, you want to try and attack and gain a position. But at the same time you've got someone right behind you who's quite intent on stealing your position off of you. So you have to attack and you have to defend. It's very, very difficult. The advantage I have over the Portuguese driver here in 6th place is that he went in quite early for his pit stop. He went in 2 laps earlier than I did. So his tyres are 2 laps more worn out than mine. So I should have better tyres typically, although this Mercedes is really good on tyres. And therefore, that's probably one of the reasons why he went in so early. Unfortunately for him, it didn't pay off because of the traffic, as he actually ended up losing a position. He probably should have gained one. Normally you gain out of the undercut unless you come out in traffic, and that's exactly what's happened on this occasion. So hasn't quite paid off for him on this race, but his loss is my gain. Now into this chicane here, feeling again more comfortable, just missing that first sausage. You take it, you can gain time, but it's very risky, it can really unsettle your car. And I think over the course of a 13 lap race, if you do it every lap, chances are it's going to mess you up once. You know, so it's not really worth trying to do it consistently unless you can really perfect it in practice. But for me, it felt better just to avoid that sausage. As we set a 31 dead on that lap, so within half a second of the fastest lap, which is not too bad given that it's by Nestor Garcia, a very, very quick driver again. Coming down second back straight, we're going to skip forward a couple of laps as the race kind of just really settled down. There's a bit of a stalemate, but let me tell you, it looks quite simple this race, but I was really sort of very nervous, not nervous, but on edge. I was very much on edge. It was quite a tense one because I knew that if I made one mistake, you know, it was game over and this guy was going to get back past me. And this was always going to be a really good result. If I could finish this high up on the grid in second split, it's going to be something I'd be very pleased about. So you definitely want to make sure you bring it home. Mercedes quite close to me, about as close as he's ever been. Not quite close enough to go for a move into this one. So we stick ahead just for now. And with only 2 laps to go, I was just beginning to get dropped by the Honda. Now he's 6 tenths of a second behind. At one point, ahead, sorry. At one point he was about 7-8 tenths, around lap 9-10. But this is the thing about being in the slipstream, you can just gain that time back. So you move over to the right hand side to break the toe, you just follow it. You gain a tenth or two just by doing it, so you might as well do it. And again, the Honda not that good in a straight line. So that gap comes down to about half a second now as we come through the first corner. I'm not quite as good on the traction, but again, down the straight we're going to be gaining, with the Mercedes still there lurking ominously in the rearview mirror, still wanting a piece of this 5th place where he started. It's always a bit of a kick in the teeth to start in a good position and then you make that decision for the pit stop and then you lose out, but you want that position back, of course. So we have 1 and let's say a quarter laps to go. We're getting towards the end of the race. You see just how much I close up on the brakes. The guy ahead really struggling on the brakes there actually, and through the chicane in fact I was definitely a lot quicker through. On the exit he's going to make a big mistake, go very wide onto the grass. This is going to give me my best opportunity yet to go for that 4th place as we come out of the final corner on the penultimate lap. Here we go then, 1 lap to go. Am I going to be able to get this 4th place? Started 6th, up to 5th. Can we get 4th? Looking for the inside, he covers the inside fully. I keep him over to the left hand side, we're going to go to the outside, the long way round. Is it going to be possible? I don't think it is. The Mercedes behind lurking, waiting for that position. Doesn't quite pay off for him. Now coming down the second straight here, towards the dodgy left-hander coming up. Again, looking for that inside, he's just closing it off. I'm just going to try to keep him as narrow as possible. it isn't possible to go for the move. It was good defence, and I couldn't quite prise open the inside. He didn't fall for the move. And sometimes I'd try to move back to the racing line, wait for them to open the gap, and then dive back into it. But this guy didn't fall for that move. He's obviously wise to it and makes the right decision, keeping the position very well there. So we can write off third place. That's long gone. It's really a battle for fourth, fifth and sixth now as we come down into the hairpin for the final time. Going to try and get a good drive off of this one. We get a good apex, clip the apex. Actually the Honda a little bit slow, and this is where I really gain against the Honda because it's really not that good in a straight line. Into the toe, down the back straight. This is going to be an interesting one, into the braking zone for the chicane for the last time. He lags a bit there. Mercedes looking behind, licking his lips, just waiting for the carnage to unfold. It doesn't quite unfold. We're racing very closely without contact. Now through here, I can see on the radar, Agula gets very close on the exit, and I just have to cover him off to go to the right hand side to make sure he doesn't go for that move. Through the final corner, just going to hold the apex. It's not going to be possible to get that fourth place, just about having to hold fifth, changing this race from an attacking one to a defensive one for the final corner. Crossed the line in fifth, and oh my god, what a race it was. Really, really close fought battle. Really, really tense affair, really, that one. As not much in the way of overtaking, but it was very much one where you had to just make sure you were consistent and didn't make a single mistake. And that's why it's one of my finer performances, I think. It was one of the ones I'm definitely really pleased about. And to finish fifth in the second split up against some really good drivers, 7 seconds away from the lead, I think I'm really, really pleased with that. I think that total time there, about 20 minutes and 5 seconds, would put me inside the top 10 in the top split, which I think is a really good total time. And I'm very, very, very pleased with that. But that is all from this one. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And it's races like this which makes me really love playing this game, and I really, really did enjoy that. I hope you did too. Let me know your thoughts on the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.